Well, welcome. Be ye a man, woman, a child, a spirit, creature, or the Mahan. Be ye a native, migrator, or maybe even an invader into the realm. Welcome for you. Welcome for I am the Millennium Mailman, your host here today on a hot take hump day. Week 19, Devil's Advocator. Chivalry isn't anything near dead. The normalization of that selfless heroism is pretty much dead. That era of heroisms is pretty much dead amongst the regular Joes because men started seeing themselves and restart. Chivalry isn't anything near dead. The normalization of that selfless heroism, that age of heroism, is pretty much dying off amongst the regular Joes because the men started seeing themselves and sharing the consequences of the normal person trying to be chivalrous to the wrong people and or to the entitles who don't reciprocate the fact that the people are being heroistic or chivalrous to them. No one sees when the average Joe are trying to be chivalrous. They only see it and recognize it when the big guys do it. So there's chivalry, in all honesty, has gone nowhere and is going nowhere. Just the heroisms of the average Joes trying to emulate that chivalrousness is what's disappearing off, right? So to have this conversation in all earnestly, we need to do the establishment of what exactly chivalry is, right? Wherein, what is chivalry? Chivalry is that concept going around in the modern day dating atmosphere where people are referring to, I think the common trends through TikTok and stuff is like, men used to go to war, now they won't get up to let women sit down on the bus seats or trains and whatnot. Men used to go to war, and now it's hard to get men to open up doors and whatnot or pay for dates. Right. Those generous, humbling situations are what are attributed to chivalry in the modern day, right? But I'll let you know, chivalry, point number one here is that chivalry is most unfortunately only applicable to nobilities and knights in accordance to the code of conduct that it was coined in, right? Not commoners and certainly not the peasants, right? If you consider yourself middle class or an average Joe, you are most certainly of the more commoner spectrum and what would be considered peasants, meaning you could never be chivalrous, right? Chivalry was something that was only attributed to the higher wealth, the millions and the billionaires, and the soldiers, right? If you're not a soldier and you're not a millionaire, trillionaire, or namely of noble status, it's impossible for you to be chivalrous, right? If you're not someone already of value. So to put that in hindsight, retrospect, for the modern dating scene, unless you are the high value male, or to put it in a more less cringe to say it a little less cringe, if women don't already like you or already find you interesting, then it's quite impossible for you to be chivalrous, right? Because it's only applicable to the knights and nobility ranks. So guys, when chicks are out here saying you're not being chivalrous, bro, I just need you to understand and recognize that They clearly see you as someone of status. They see you as someone of great value or status that even they themselves feel forced to acknowledge, right? When the chicks are out here saying that it's saying such that, hey, you're not being chivalrous, it's that it's not entitled, or it's not entitlement for you to treat them nonchalantly or bad. It's expected because you are someone of status that they have to look up to, right? It's there's that your nonchalance and your mistreatment of them is just a social norm and the common trend. When the women are out here saying that you're not being chivalrous, it is most expected and rather honorable for you to be acting in this manner, such that the only thing that would make you an even more prime candidate would be for you to be humbling yourself specifically to her and no one else, right? So it's most honorable for you to act a touch more humble for her specifically in the idea of courting her, right? Only after you are in pursuance of courting her specifically are you even expected to be acting humble, right? Because that would be you recognizing that you care for her at the price of her attention and dowry, for your prioritization, respect over all other women, right? And I'll say that again. When women are basically saying that you're not being chivalrous, one, you're someone of status by default. Two, it's expected that you're probably a douchebag because you're someone of high value, of someone of status, someone of importance that women like her and on her level are relatively forced to acknowledge and naturally perceive as basically a prize, right? If you're in the position to be chivalrous and women are calling you out, that's because you are high key most sought after and valuable, whether they openly choose to say it or not, right? And that is the hint that they actually like you, or at least it should be, right? Because chivalry was always in regards to the particular set, and specifically as far as women were concerned, chivalrousness was only applicable to the courting phase of you and the particular woman you were courting, right? And that price of tit for tat humblingness of the trade was that you would act a bit more humble and humilitus in nature, specifically to and for her, better than you would anyone else, right? Over all the other women in your life, to include your mom, to include your sister, you would treat her better with a bit more courtesy and curtsy than all other women, period. Right? You would prioritize and put your respect for her over any other woman in your life. Not to include your other men, your religion, or work. God comes before your woman, your job comes before your woman, because the job is what's going to supply the family and so on, and not before other men. You put her above all other women specifically, right? Elder before all other elderly, women and children, comes that code of imminent dangers, where yes, the only caveat to putting your prioritization and respect for all other women would be in case of imminent dangers, like if there was an elderly woman who was in imminent danger, you would prioritize and give a bit more filial, ancestral respect to the elders before you would consider, hey, my wife doesn't want me to help you, so I'm not going to do it. Imminent danger, help that old person before you consider the feelings of your wife, your lady, the woman you're being chivalrous to. In the case of imminent danger, such as rape and so on and so forth, go protect that random woman before considering the feelings of your wife. In case of trafficking, child labor, so on and so forth, child endangerment, take care of the kid before considering the feelings of your wife. That is considered chivalrous. It's a matter of humbling yourself from a position of status and power. And the truth that people don't seem to quite grasp and understand in this conversation is the fact that it's quite impossible. The reason why commoners and peasants aren't applicable in this conversation is because it's not possible for commoners and peasants to further humble themselves to be less than the dirt that they already are, right? The idea of being chivalrous is a matter of humility and reducing the already value that you are to be more level and down to earth with everyone else as much as possible. But when you're a commoner or a peasant, you're already down here. To humble would be to like grovel at the feet of anyone and everyone. Like, oh my God, I just want to kiss your feet. Please step on me, dominatrix, right? That's not chivalry. That's just you being weird, dude. There's no matter of humbling and further humbling yourself when you're an average Joe. You're a normal person who's already relatively at the bottom of any barrel. An average Joe trying to be chivalrous is just an average Joe effectively making a mockery of it or trying to emulate and simulate it amongst themselves. Right? A commoners of common footing being like, oh, I'm going to be the bigger man and let you be chivalrous. You do this, that. I'm going to be the bigger guy or you be the bigger guy. That's all chivalry at the commoner peasant level is. It's like, which one of you are going to allow the other guy to be the bigger person? It's not you being the bigger, better person. It's the other person being the bigger, better person because right? The only time you can act chivalrous and still be the bigger person and act like it is like, hey, I'm a Grand Duke of such and such a state, and here are some commoners. This Grand Duke can be the bigger person by being a little humble because no matter how much they humble themselves, they are still literally the bigger freaking person. I am still bigger than you, lowly twat, and you will recognize that at some point no matter how much I humble myself. You go past that limit, I am going to whip out this belt and show you exactly where you're at. You're a commoner, you're a peasant, get the freaking line. I can humble myself as much as possible up until the point where I have to beat you back into place, right? Hammer, mallet, bap. Chivalry is only applicable to nobility and the knighting ranks, right? It's not really applicable anywhere else at all in the slightest, no nothing, okay? So that'll be the first half of this conversation debate-ish style, right? And I'll do the rest of it. Excuse me. I'll do the rest of that for Friday on the 23rd. But yeah, in order to really have this conversation, I know a lot of people in this current generation think it's a Gen Z or Gen Alpha. No one really seems to be garnishing the picture of what exactly chivalry is. Like, if you went to public school, probably impossible for you to be chivalrous until you go to college, until you have a job of good work or good value, You can't be a chivalrous person. You have to actually be of someone of status or noble ranks. If you join the military, you would be of technical knighting ranks that gives you a level of status above everyone else, right? But more on that for the part 2 and the rest of this conversation that I'll continue on for Friday. Right. So, hey, that's just me. I digress. Like, comment, share for more exposure. Subscribe if you feel like it. Dislike the video if you don't. And by all means, contact me at Millenia Mailman here in the realm of Millenia through the postings or at milleniamailman@gmail.com. I'm dying. Peace. Peace.